He hadn't smelled that perfume in 12 years, not since the day she vanished. But now it filled his war room, carried by a janitor he didn't recognize, until she turned around. Hey, before we dive into this story, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from and what time it is for you right now. New York, London, Tokyo. I love knowing who's here with me. All right, let's begin. The war room smelled like leather, cigar smoke, and fear. Dante Rivero sat at the head of a black oak table, fingers steepled beneath his chin, eyes sharp as razors. Around him, 8 men stood in silence, soldiers, captains, enforcers, men who'd killed for him, men who feared him more than they feared God. He didn't raise his voice. He never had to. "Explain to me," Dante said slowly, his tone cold and surgical, "how a shipment worth $2 million just disappears." The man across from him, Sal, a stocky man with sweat pooling at his collar, stammered. "Boss." I swear, we had eyes on it the whole time. Someone on the inside must have. Dante's hand rose an inch. Sal's mouth snapped shut. "Someone on the inside," Dante repeated softly. "You're telling me we have a rat." I didn't say that, boss. I just... "Then what are you saying, Sal?" The silence, thick, suffocating. Dante leaned back in his chair, the leather creaking beneath him. His suit was charcoal gray, tailored to perfection. His watch was Swiss. His shoes Italian. Everything about him screamed power, control, precision. But his eyes were empty. "Find the rat," Dante said quietly. "Bring him to me, alive." "Yes, boss." "And Sal." "Yeah, boss." "If it's you," Dante's lips didn't smile, but something cruel flickered across his face. "Pray it's not you." Sal nodded quickly and left, followed by the others. The door closed with a heavy thud. Dante sat alone in the silence. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small, tarnished bracelet. Silver. Delicate, a tiny charm dangled from it, a sparrow. He turned it over in his fingers, the metal cold against his skin. 12 years. 12 years since he'd held her hand. 12 years since he'd heard her laugh. 12 years since the day she walked out of his apartment and never came back. They told him she was dead. Car accident, no body recovered, just gone. He didn't believe it at first. He tore the city apart looking for her, burned bridges, called in favors, destroyed anyone who might have known something. But there was nothing. Eventually, the search became a scar, and the scar became who he was. Dante Rivero, untouchable, unshakable, alone. He slipped the bracelet back into his pocket, exhaled slowly, and returned to his paperwork. He didn't hear the door open behind him. Isabel Morrow, though no one had called her that in over a decade, pushed her cleaning cart down the marble hallway of the Rivero building with her head down and her heartbeat steady. Steady. Because she'd trained it to be. She wore a gray uniform, her hair tied back in a bun, no makeup, no jewelry. Nothing that drew the eye, nothing that made her memorable. Invisible. That's what she'd become, what she'd needed to become. The night shift was her favorite. The building emptied out after 10, and by 11, it was just her, the hum of the HVAC system, and the ghosts of conversations that had happened in these rooms. She didn't ask questions, didn't look at documents left on desks, Didn't wonder why some offices had reinforced doors or why certain floors required clearance she'd never get. She cleaned, she left, she survived. That was the deal she'd made with herself 12 years ago. Stay invisible, stay alive. Her cart squeaked slightly as she turned the corner toward the executive wing. The war room was at the end of the hall. She'd cleaned it 100 times, always after hours, always when it was empty. But tonight, the light was still on. Belle hesitated. She could skip it, come back tomorrow. No one would know. But her supervisor had been on her about thoroughness lately, and she couldn't afford to lose this job. Not when she'd worked so hard to disappear into it. She took a breath and knocked lightly on the door. No answer. She knocked again. Still nothing. Slowly, she pushed the door open. The room was vast, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Brooklyn skyline, a marble bar in the corner, the long black table in the center. And at the head of that table, his back to her, sat a man. Belle's breath caught. She knew who he was. Everyone in the building did. Dante Rivero, the boss, the king, the ghost in the machine. She'd never seen him up close before. She'd made sure of it. But now here he was, 10 feet away. Her hands tightened on the cart handle. Turn around. Leave, now. But she didn't. Because if she left, someone would notice. Someone would ask why, and questions led to attention. Attention led to danger. So she stepped inside, quiet as a shadow, and began to work. She wiped down the bar first, collected empty glasses. Her movements were mechanical, practiced. She didn't look at him, didn't speak. He didn't acknowledge her either. He was reading something, files maybe. His pen moved across the paper in sharp, controlled strokes. Belle moved to the table. She reached for a glass near his elbow. Her sleeve shifted slightly, revealing the faint edge of a scar on her wrist, thin, white, old. She pulled her sleeve down quickly. Then she took out her cleaning spray. Lavender, vetiver, amber. She'd special ordered it years ago from a small shop in Paris. It was the only thing she'd kept from her old life. A single, foolish indulgence. She sprayed the table. The scent filled the air. And Dante Rivero's pen stopped. Belle froze. She didn't know why. She hadn't heard him move, hadn't seen him react. But the air in the room had changed. Slowly, so. Slowly, it felt like the world had slowed with it. Dante's head tilted. He inhaled. And his entire body went rigid. Belle's heart slammed against her ribs. No. No, no, no. He set the pen down. His hand was shaking. Stop, he said. His voice was low, rough, broken. Belle's hand hovered over the table, the rag clutched between her fingers. Turn around. She didn't move. She couldn't move. I said, his chair scraped back, he stood. Turn around. Her pulse thundered in her ears. Run, you have to run. But her legs wouldn't obey. Slowly, she turned. And for the first time in 12 years, Isabel Morrow looked into the eyes of Dante Rivero. His face had changed. Harder, sharper, lines around his eyes that hadn't been there before, but those eyes. God, those eyes. They were the same. and they were looking at her like she was a ghost. His lips parted. He breathed one word. Isabel. A tear slipped down her cheek before she could stop it. His jaw clenched. His hands balled into fists. And then, in a voice that could shatter steel, "Clear the room." Belle blinked. "There's no one." "Clear the room." The shout echoed through the hall. Somewhere a door opened. Footsteps, murmurs, his men had been outside. They appeared in the doorway, 3 of them, confusion on their faces. Dante didn't look at them. Out now. Boss is everything. Out. They left. The door clicked shut. The lock turned. And then it was just the 2 of them. Silence. Her, him, and 12 years of grief, rage, and love suspended in the space between them. Dante took a step forward. Belle took a step back. "You're dead," he whispered. "They told me you were dead." Her voice cracked. "I had to be." His face twisted. Pain, anger, disbelief crashing together. "Why?" She opened her mouth. But the words wouldn't come. Not yet. The silence between them was a living thing. Thick, suffocating, charged with everything unsaid. Dante stood 5 feet away. From her, his chest rising and falling like he'd just run a marathon. His fists were clenched so tight his knuckles had gone white. Belle's back was pressed against the wall near the door. Her cleaning cart sat abandoned in the middle of the room, a forgotten relic of the life she'd been pretending to live 30 seconds ago. Her mind screamed at her to move, to say something, to run. But her body betrayed her. Because part of her, some reckless, aching part she'd buried long ago, had been waiting for this moment. Dante's eyes raked over her face, her hair, her uniform, like he was cataloging every difference, every year, every lie. "Say something," he said, his voice hoarse. Belle swallowed hard. Her throat felt like sandpaper. I didn't know you'd be here." His laugh was bitter, sharp. "You didn't know." He dragged a hand through his hair, pacing now, unable to stand still. "You didn't know. You've been cleaning my building for how long, Isabel?" "Don't call me." "That." His head snapped toward her. "What?" "That's not my name anymore." "Like hell it's not." He stepped closer. She flinched and he stopped, jaw tight. "What do they call you now? Huh, what name did you use to erase yourself?" "Belle," she whispered. "Just Belle." "Belle," he repeated it like it tasted wrong. "And your last name?" She hesitated. "Monroe." "Monroe," he nodded slowly, bitterly. "Belle Monroe, a janitor, invisible, forgettable." His voice cracked. "Smart." Tears burned behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Not yet, not in front of him. "I didn't have a choice." Everyone has a choice. Not when the choice is you or everyone I've ever loved. The words hit him like a bullet. He stopped pacing. His shoulders sagged, just for a moment before he straightened again, the armor slamming back into place. "Explain," he said quietly. "And don't lie to me, not again." Belle closed her eyes, the memories crashing over her like wave. 12 years ago. She'd been 23, a grad student, art history. She worked part-time at a small cafe in the West Village, The kind of place where the coffee was overpriced and the pastries were always slightly stale. He'd walked in one rainy October afternoon, soaked to the bone, and ordered a black coffee. She remembered thinking he looked dangerous. Not in an obvious way, he didn't have tattoos or scars back then, but there was something in his eyes, something sharp, hungry. He came back the next day, and the day after that. By the third week, he was waiting for her after her shift. "Let me take you to dinner," he'd said. "I don't even know your name," she'd replied. "Dante." "That's it, just Dante." He'd smiled. For now. She'd said yes. She fell in love with him before she even knew what he was. By the time she found out, 6 months in, when she saw him break a man's arm in an alley behind a bar, it was too late. She was already his, and he was hers. He'd tried to push her away, told her she deserved better, safer, normal. But she stayed. For 2 years, she stayed. Until the night they came for her. Belle opened her eyes. Dante was watching her, his expression unreadable. "They found me," she said quietly. "Your enemies, I don't even know which family it was, they didn't give names, they just showed up at my apartment one night. 3 men. They had pictures, my parents, my little sister, you. They said if I didn't disappear, everyone in those pictures would die, starting with you." Dante's jaw clenched. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because you would have gone to war. You would have burned the whole city down to protect me, and you would have died, Dante." Her voice broke. "I couldn't let that happen. So you just left. I staged a car accident, paid someone to make it look real. I changed my name, moved across the country, became no one." She wiped at her eyes, angry at the tears. "I watched you from a distance, read about you in the papers, saw you build an empire, and I told myself I did the right thing." "Did you?" His voice was ice. She flinched. "I don't know any more." He took another step toward her. Close now. Close enough that she could see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. Close enough to smell the faint scent of his cologne, cedar and smoke. "Do you have any idea what you did to me?" His voice was low, trembling with restraint. "I looked for you, Isabel. For 3 years I looked. I tore this city apart. I called in every favor, burned every bridge, destroyed anyone who might have known something. And when I found nothing..." He stopped, swallowed hard. "I became this." He gestured to himself, to the room, to the empire around them. "I stopped feeling, stopped caring. I built all of this because it was the only thing that made sense when you were gone." Belle's breath hitched. "Dante." "And now you're standing here, alive, breathing, telling me you did it to save me." His hand rose, hovering near her face but not touching. "You didn't save me, you destroyed me." A tear slid down her cheek. He caught it with his thumb. The touch was so gentle it shattered her. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." His eyes closed. His forehead dropped to hers. For a moment, they just stood there, breathing the same air, existing in the same impossible space. "I never stopped loving you," she whispered. His breath hitched. "I wore your ring every single day. I kept that stupid bracelet you gave me. Stop. Dante. Stop." He pulled back, his expression raw, wrecked. "You don't get to say that. Not after 12 years. Not after you let me bury you." I didn't have a choice. You had me, his shout echoed through the room. You had me, and you chose to leave anyway. To save you. I didn't want to be saved. The words rang out like a gunshot. Belle's chest heaved. Dante's hands shook. Neither of them moved. And then, from somewhere deep in the building, a phone rang. Dante's phone. He ignored it. It rang again. Answer it, Belle said quietly. No. Dante. I said no. His eyes locked on hers, fierce and burning. I've spent 12 years without you. They can wait 5 more minutes. The phone stopped ringing. Then it started again. He cursed under his breath and yanked it from his pocket. What? The pause. His expression darkened. When? Another pause. I'll handle it. He hung up. Belle's stomach twisted. What is it? He looked at her, conflict warring across his face. Someone saw you come in tonight. Her blood went cold. What? One of my men. He ran your face through old surveillance archives. Dante's voice was tight, controlled. He just sent me a message. He knows who you are. Does he know I'm here? Now? Not yet, but he will. Belle's heart slammed against her ribs. Then I need to leave, right now. She moved toward the cart, but Dante's hand shot out, gripping her wrist. You're not going anywhere. Dante, if they know I'm alive. I don't care. You have to care. The people who threatened me 12 years ago, if they find out I'm back. Let them come. His grip tightened, not painful but firm, unyielding. I'm not losing you again. You don't understand. No, you don't understand. He pulled her closer, his voice dropping to something raw and desperate. I've been dead for 12 years, Isabel. You walking back into my life is the first time I've felt anything. So no, you're not running, not this time. They'll kill you. They can try. Dante. I said no. She stared at him, tears streaming down her face now, her whole body trembling. And for the first time in 12 years, she let herself break. She collapsed against him, and his arms came around her instantly, crushing her to his chest. He buried his face in her hair. She sobbed into his shirt. And the world outside ceased to exist. I missed you, she choked out. God, I missed you so much. His voice was broken. I missed you too. They stood there, wrapped around each other, while the clock on the wall ticked forward and the ghosts of 12 years finally began to quiet. But outside the room, in the shadow of the hallway, a figure stood listening. And slowly, he pulled out his phone. One message sent. She's here. Dante held her for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes. Her tears soaked through his shirt. His hands trembled against her back. Neither of them spoke. There were no words big enough for what this moment held. But eventually, reality crept back in. Belle pulled away first, wiping at her face with shaking hands. I need to go. No. Dante, you said someone saw me. If they know. I'll handle it. You can't just handle everything. Her voice cracked with frustration. This isn't some business deal or a shipment gone wrong. These are the people who made me disappear. If they know I'm alive, they'll come for me. And this time they won't just threaten, they'll act. Dante's jaw tightened. Then I'll kill them first. And how many will die before you do? You're men, innocent people. She shook her head, stepping back. I won't let you start a war over me. It's not your choice. It is my choice. It's always been my choice. Her voice turned cold, defensive. I left to protect you. I stayed away to keep you safe. And now I'm telling you I need to leave. Again. Something dark flickered across his face. You think I'm just going to let you walk out of here, vanish for another 12 years? If that's what it takes. No. He moved in front of the door, blocking her path. Not happening. You can't keep me prisoner. Watch me. They stared at each other, the air between them electric with anger and fear, and something far more dangerous, desperation. Belle's hands curled into fists. You don't get it, do you? I didn't survive 12 years of. Hiding just to get you killed now. I won't do it. And I didn't spend 12 years in hell just to lose you the same night I found you. His voice dropped, deadly calm. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to sit down. You're going to tell me everything, every name, every threat, every detail. And then I'm going to decide what happens next. I don't take orders from you. You did once. Her breath caught. The words hit like a slap, dragging up memories she'd buried deep, nights in his apartment, his voice in her ear, her body under his, the way she used to surrender to him completely. She shook her head, shoving the memories away. That was a lifetime ago. Was it? He stepped closer, his voice soft but lethal. Because from where I'm standing, you're still wearing my ring. Her hand flew to her chest, clutching the chain beneath her uniform. His eyes followed the movement. Yeah, I saw it. She swallowed hard. It doesn't mean anything. A liar. Dante. You. Wanna leave? Fine, walk out that door. He stepped aside, gesturing toward the exit. But we both know you won't make it 2 blocks before someone finds you. And this time I won't be there to protect you, because I won't know where you are. Belle's heart pounded. She hated that he was right. Hated that the second her face had been flagged in the system, the clock had started ticking. She couldn't run, not anymore. But she couldn't stay either. What do you want from me? She whispered. The truth. I told you the truth. Not all of it. He crossed his arms, his gaze boring into her. You said they threatened you, that they gave you a choice, but you didn't tell me who. You didn't tell me why they wanted you gone specifically, and you didn't tell me why you came back to New York after all this time. She looked away. Isabel. Belle, she corrected sharply. Answer the question. She closed her eyes, the weight of the last 12 years pressing down on her like. Stone, I came back because my sister got sick, stage 4 cancer. She's in a hospice in Queens. Dante's expression shifted, just barely, but she saw it. A flicker of something softer beneath the anger. I hadn't seen her in 12 years, Belle continued, her voice hollow. I couldn't even call her, couldn't send letters. I erased myself so completely that when she got diagnosed 6 months ago, I almost didn't find out. She wiped at her eyes. But a mutual friend tracked me down, told me she was dying, that she kept asking for me. So you came back. I didn't have a choice, not this time. She laughed bitterly. I thought I could stay hidden, get a low-level job, keep my head down, see her on weekends. I didn't think anyone would notice one more janitor in a city of 9 million people. But you took a job here, in my building. I didn't know it was yours, she snapped. I applied to 6 different companies. This one hired me. I didn't ask questions. I needed work. I needed to be close to her. Dante was quiet for a long moment, his eyes searching her face. How much time does she have? Belle's voice broke. Weeks, maybe less. He exhaled slowly, dragging a hand down his face. Jesus, Isabel. I told you, I didn't come back to disrupt your life. I didn't come back for you. The words tasted like ash, but she forced them out. I came back to say goodbye to my sister, and then I was going to disappear again. Except now you can't. No, she looked at him, tears brimming. Now I can't. Silence settled over them, heavy and suffocating. Dante turned away, pacing toward the window. His reflection stared back at him in the glass, a man who'd built an empire on control, now faced with the one thing he couldn't command. You should have come to me, he said quietly. When you came back, you should have told me. And what would you have done? Protected you. That's exactly why I didn't tell you. She stepped closer, her voice soft but firm. You can't protect me from this, Dante. You never could. That's what you don't understand. The people who came for me 12 years ago, they weren't rivals or competitors. They were ghosts. No names, no faces, just a message and a threat. Then we find them. How? I've spent 12 years trying to figure out who they were. I have nothing. You have me. And that's supposed to make me feel safe, she laughed bitterly. You're a target, Dante. Everyone in your world is. The closer I get to you, the more danger I'm in. He spun around, his eyes blazing. You think I don't know that? You think I haven't spent the last 12 years drowning in that exact guilt? His voice cracked. I loved you. I still love you. And that love made you a target. I know that. But I also know that I would rather die fighting for you than live one more day pretending you don't exist. Belle's breath hitched. He closed the distance between them, his hands framing her face. I let you go. Once because I didn't have a choice, but I have one now, and I'm choosing you, even if it costs me everything. Tears streamed down her face. You don't know what you're saying. Yes, I do. Dante. I'm not letting you go, Isabel. Not again. So either you stay and we fight this together, or you run and I follow. Those are your options. She stared up at him, her heart breaking and mending at the same time. I can't ask you to do this. You're not asking, I'm telling you. His thumb brushed her cheek. You're stuck with me. A broken laugh escaped her. You're insane. Yeah, he smiled small, sad, real. I am. For a heartbeat, the world softened. But then his phone buzzed. Once, twice, 3 times in rapid succession. Dante pulled it out, his jaw tightening as he read the messages. What? Belle asked, dread pooling in her stomach. He didn't answer right away. His fingers flew across the screen, typing something back. Then he looked at her. We need to move. Now. What's happening? Someone just posted a picture of you entering the building tonight. It's already circulating. Her blood turned to ice. Who? I don't know yet, but whoever it is, they just painted a target on your back. He grabbed her hand. Come on. Where are we going? Somewhere safe. Dante. Trust me. She looked into his eyes, those same eyes she'd fallen in love with a lifetime ago. And despite everything, despite the fear and the danger and the impossibility of it all, she nodded. Okay. He pulled her toward the door, his grip firm and unyielding. But as they stepped into the hallway, a voice called out from behind them. Boss. Dante froze. Belle's heart stopped. They turned. Standing at the end of the hall was one of Dante's men, a younger guy, mid-20s, with nervous eyes and a phone in his hand. Tommy, Dante said, his voice dangerously calm. What are you doing here? Tommy shifted uncomfortably. I was just checking the building, making sure everything was locked down for the night. At midnight. Yeah, routine. Dante's eyes narrowed. You sent those messages. Tommy's face went pale. Boss, You flagged her face. You posted that picture. I didn't know it was her at first. I just saw someone on the cameras and ran it through the system and... He stopped, realizing he was digging himself deeper. I thought you'd want to know. So you broadcasted it. I sent it to the family group chat. I didn't think. No, you didn't think. Dante's voice was ice. Do you have any idea what you just did? Tommy stammered. I am sorry, boss, I didn't mean. Get out. Boss. I said get out. You're done. Pack your things and disappear before I change my mind about letting you walk. Tommy's face crumpled, but he didn't argue. He turned and bolted down the hallway. Dante watched him go, his jaw tight. Belle's hand tightened on his. Dante. He looked at her, his expression. It's unreadable. We're out of time. Dante didn't let go of her hand. He led her down a back stairwell, one she'd never seen before, hidden behind a maintenance door that required a key code. The walls were concrete, the lighting dim and industrial. Their footsteps echoed in the narrow space. Belle's mind raced. Where are we going? Somewhere they won't look. Dante, if your own people saw me. Then we don't go to any of my properties. We go somewhere off the grid. They descended 3 more flights before he pushed through a heavy metal door into an underground parking garage. The air was cold and smelled like oil and exhaust. A single black SUV sat in the corner, engine already running. Someone was waiting. Belle tensed, but Dante squeezed her hand. It's okay. That's Marco. He's the only one I trust right now. An older man, late 50s, graying at the temples, with the build of someone who'd seen violence and survived it, stepped out of the driver's seat. His eyes flicked. To Belle, then back to Dante. She the one? Marco asked. Yeah. Marco nodded slowly. Thought she was dead. So did I. This gonna be a problem. It already is. Dante opened the back door and gestured for Belle to get in. She hesitated, but only for a second. There was no other choice now. She slid into the leather seat. Dante climbed in beside her. Marco got back behind the wheel. Where to? The old place, Red Hook. Marco's eyebrows rose. You sure? No one's been there in years. Exactly. The SUV pulled out of the garage, tires squealing slightly as they ascended the ramp, and merged into the late-night New York traffic. Belle stared out the window, watching the city blur past. Lights, people, lives continuing as if hers wasn't currently unraveling. Dante sat beside her, his hand still holding hers. She didn't pull away. "What's in Red Hook?" she asked quietly. "It's a warehouse. I bought it a long time ago under a shell company. No one knows I own it, not even most of my men." "Why'd you buy it?" He was quiet for a moment. "I was going to fix it up, turn it into something. A legitimate business, maybe, something clean." He exhaled. "I bought it the year you disappeared. Never did anything with it." Her throat tightened. "Dante." "It's fine. It'll work for now." He glanced at Marco. "How long?" 20 minutes. Maybe less if the roads stay clear." Dante nodded and leaned back, but his shoulders were still tense, his jaw tight. Belle studied him in the dim glow of passing streetlights. He looked older, harder. The boy she'd fallen in love with was still there, buried beneath layers of authority and violence. But he was different now. So was she. "I'm sorry," she whispered. He looked at her. "For what?" "For all of it. For leaving. For coming back. For dragging you into this mess." "You didn't drag me into anything. I was always in it." His thumb traced slow circles on the back of her hand. "The only difference is now I have a reason to fight. That's what scares me." "Why?" "Because you'll get yourself killed trying to protect me." His eyes darkened. "Then I'll die doing the only thing that's ever mattered." "Don't say that." "It's the truth." She pulled her hand away, frustration flaring. "You can't just decide that I'm worth dying for. You don't know me anymore, Dante. 12 years is a long time. People change." "Did you?" She opened her mouth to say yes, but the words stuck in her throat. Because the truth was, she hadn't, not really. She'd survived, adapted, hidden. But the part of her that loved him, that ached for him, that had never changed. He saw the answer in her silence. "Yeah," he said softly, "that's what I thought." The warehouse was exactly what she expected. Massive, abandoned, and cold. Marco pulled the SUV into a side entrance, killed the engine, and stepped out to sweep the perimeter. Dante led Belle inside through a rusted door that groaned. On its hinges. The interior was cavernous. High ceilings crisscrossed with exposed beams. Old crates stacked in the corners. Dust particles floating in the faint glow of moonlight streaming through broken windows. It smelled like rust and old wood and forgetting. Dante flipped a switch. A few overhead lights flickered to life, bare bulbs that cast harsh shadows across the concrete floor. "It's not much," he said. "It's fine." He led her to a small office in the back, probably once used by a foreman or supervisor. Inside was a desk, a filing cabinet, and an old leather couch that had seen better days. "There's a bathroom through that door. No running water, but Marco will bring supplies." Belle nodded, wrapping her arms around herself. The adrenaline was starting to wear off, leaving exhaustion in its wake. Dante watched her carefully. "You should sit." "I'm fine." "Isabel." "I said I'm fine," but her voice cracked, betraying her. He stepped closer. "You don't have to pretend with me." Yes, I do. She turned away, blinking back tears. If I stop pretending, I'll fall apart, and I can't afford to do that right now. Why not? Because if I fall apart, I won't be able to put myself back together. Not again. He was silent for a long moment. Then, quietly, you don't have to put yourself back together alone. The words broke something inside her. She turned, and the tears she'd been holding back finally spilled over. I don't know how to do this, she whispered. I don't know how to let you back in. I don't know how to be her again, the girl you loved. I'm not her anymore. I don't need you to be her. He closed the distance between them, his hands gentle on her shoulders. I just need you to be you, whoever that is now. What if you don't like who I've become? Impossible. She let out a shaky laugh. You don't know that. Yeah, I do. His hand cupped her cheek, tilting her face up. Because I've spent 12 years hating the world. Hating myself, hating everything. And the second I saw you again, I remembered what it felt like to be alive. So no, I don't care who you've become. You're still the only thing that's ever made sense to me. Her breath hitched. And then, before she could stop herself, she kissed him. It wasn't soft. It wasn't gentle. It was 12 years of grief and longing and desperation crashing together all at once. His arms came around her instantly, pulling her flush against him. Her hands fisted in his shirt, his fingers tangled in her hair. It was everything and not enough. When they finally broke apart, both of them were breathing hard. I can't do this, she whispered against his lips. Yes, you can. If I let myself love you again. You never stopped. She closed her eyes. That's the problem. He rested his forehead against hers. Then let it be a problem. Let it be messy and complicated and dangerous. I don't care, I just want you. She wanted to argue, wanted to push him away, wanted to protect him from the storm that was coming. But God, she was so tired of being strong. So instead, she let herself lean into him. Let herself be held. Let herself, for just a moment, believe that maybe they could survive this. Marco returned an hour later with supplies. Water, blankets, food, a burner phone. He set everything on the desk and looked at Dante. I'll stay outside, keep watch. Thanks, Marco. The older man nodded, then glanced at Belle. Good to see you alive, kid. She blinked, surprised. You remember me. Course I do. You were the only one who ever made him smile. He tipped his head toward Dante. Don't let him do anything stupid. I'll try. Marco left, closing the door behind him. Belle turned to Dante. He knew about me. He's the one who helped me look for you. For 3 years, he followed every lead, chased every rumor. Dante's jaw tightened. When we finally came up empty, he told me to let you go. Said holding onto a ghost would kill me. He was right. Maybe, but I didn't listen. She sank onto the couch, exhaustion settling into her bones. Dante sat beside her, close but not touching. For a while, they just sat in silence. Then Belle spoke. What happens now? Now we figure out who's coming for you, and we stop them. And if we can't... He looked at her, his eyes hard and unyielding. We will. She wanted to believe him. But somewhere deep down, she knew the truth. The people who'd made her disappear, 12 years ago weren't the type to forgive. And now that they knew she was alive. The clock was ticking. Outside, in the shadows of the warehouse, a black sedan sat parked across the street. Inside, a man lifted a phone to his ear. "Yeah, I found her." The pause. Red Hook, old warehouse on Columbia Street. Another pause. "Understood. I'll wait for your signal." He hung up and smiled. Belle couldn't sleep. She lay on the old leather couch, a thin blanket pulled up to her chin, staring at the water-stained ceiling. The warehouse creaked and groaned around her, the building settling, the wind pushing through broken windows, the distant hum of the city beyond. Dante sat at the desk across the room, the glow of a laptop illuminating his face. He'd been there for the past 2 hours, typing, clicking, making quiet phone calls. Hunting. She watched him in the dim light, the sharp line of his jaw, the tension in his shoulders. He hadn't slept either. She doubted he would. "You should rest," she said quietly. He didn't look up. "So should you." "Can't." "Yes, me neither." Silence settled again. Belle sat up slowly, wrapping the blanket around her shoulders. "What are you looking for?" "Anything, everything." He rubbed his eyes, exhaustion bleeding through. "I've got people pulling old surveillance, checking financial records, reaching out to contacts. Someone threatened you 12 years ago. Someone made you disappear. They didn't just vanish into thin air." "They might as well have. I tried to find them, Dante, for years. There was nothing. No names, no faces, no trail." "Then we're missing something." He finally looked at her, his gaze sharp despite the fatigue. "Walk me through it again, that night. Everything you remember." Belle's stomach twisted. She'd spent 12 years trying to forget that night, and failing. But now, she forced herself to go back. 12 years ago, late March. She'd been living in Dante's apartment for 6 months by then. A small place in the East Village, nothing fancy, but it was theirs. She'd moved in after her lease ended, and he'd acted like it was no big deal. But she'd seen the way he looked at her things mixed in with his, her books on his shelves, her coffee mug next to his in the sink. Like it made him whole. She'd known what he was by then, known the danger. But she'd also known him, the way he hummed old Italian songs. While cooking, the way he read to her at night when she couldn't sleep, the way he held her like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. She'd loved him. God, she'd loved him. That night, she'd stayed late at the library working on her thesis. When she got home around 11, the apartment was dark. Dante was out, some kind of meeting. He'd told her not to wait up. She'd changed into pajamas, made tea, settled onto the couch with her notes. And then someone knocked on the door. 3 sharp raps. She'd assumed it was Dante. Maybe he forgot his key. She'd opened the door without checking. Mistake. 3 men stood in the hallway. She didn't recognize any of them. The one in front was tall, older, maybe 50, with silver hair and dead eyes. He wore an expensive suit. The 2 behind him were younger, bigger, muscle. "Isabel Morrow," the older man said. Not a question, a statement. Her hand had tightened on the doorknob. "Who are you?" "That's not important." He'd stepped forward, forcing her back into the apartment. The other 2 followed, closing the door behind them. Her heart had slammed into her throat. "Get out! My boyfriend will be back any minute." "Dante Rivero, yes, we know." The man had smiled, a cold, empty thing. "That's why we're here." He'd pulled out a folder, opened it, spread photographs across the coffee table. Her parents, asleep in their home in Vermont. Her little sister, 18, walking across her college campus. Dante, leaving a restaurant downtown. All taken within the last week. "What do you want?" she'd whispered. "We want you to disappear." "Why?" "Because Dante Rivero is becoming a problem, and you—" He'd gestured at her like she was an insect. "You're his weakness. As long as you exist, he's vulnerable, distracted, soft. He'll come for you if you hurt me." "Exactly, which is why you're going to make sure he doesn't." The man had leaned closer, his voice a razor. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave. Tonight, you're going to stage your death, make it believable, and you're going to stay gone. Forever. And if I don't..." He'd tapped the photos. "Then everyone in these pictures dies, starting with your family, then Dante, slowly, painfully, and we'll make sure you watch." Tears had streamed down her face. "Please." "You have 24 hours. After that, we start killing." He'd stood, smoothing his jacket. "If you try to warn Dante, if you go to the police, if you do anything other than disappear, we'll know, and everyone you love will pay the price." They'd left as quietly as they came. And Isabel had collapsed on the floor, sobbing. "I didn't sleep that night," Belle said quietly, her voice distant. "I just sat there trying to figure out what to do. I thought about telling you, thought about running to you and letting you handle it, but I knew what you'd do." Dante's jaw was tight. "I would have killed them." "And gotten yourself killed in the process." They weren't bluffing, Dante. I could see it in their eyes. They would have slaughtered everyone I loved and made me watch. She wiped at her face. "So I left. I packed one bag, withdrew all the cash I had. I called a guy I knew from school, someone who owed me a favor, and he helped me stage the accident. Fake ID, fake name, fake life." "Where did you go?" "Portland first, then Seattle, then a dozen other cities over the years. I never stayed long, never made friends, never let anyone get close." Her voice cracked. "I became a ghost." Dante stood abruptly, pacing, his fists clenched and unclenched. "Did they ever contact you again?" "No, not once. It was like they just forgot about me. As long as I stayed gone, I was safe." "And your family?" "I monitored them from a distance, made sure they were okay. They grieved. They moved on. My sister..." She swallowed hard. "My sister took it the hardest. She blamed herself for a while, thought if she'd been a better sister, maybe I wouldn't have. God, it killed me to watch her suffer and not be able to tell her I was alive." "But you came back for her." "I had to. When I found out she was dying, I couldn't let her go without seeing her one last time." Dante stopped pacing. "Does she know you're alive?" Belle nodded. "I told her 2 weeks ago, showed up at the hospice. She thought she was hallucinating at first." A sad smile crossed her face. "But then she held me, and she cried, and she told me she'd always known I wasn't really dead, that she felt it." "What did you tell her? About why you left?" "The truth, most of it anyway. I didn't tell her about you, didn't want to put that weight on her." Belle looked at him. "She made me promise I'd stay until the end, that I wouldn't disappear again. And you agreed. Yeah, I agreed. Her voice broke. Even though I knew it was dangerous, even though I knew coming back could get me killed, I couldn't say no to her. Dante crossed the room and knelt in front of her, taking her hands in his. You're not going to die. I won't let that happen. You can't promise that. Watch me. She looked into his eyes, fierce, determined, alive in a way they hadn't been in 12 years. I don't even know who they were, she whispered. The man who came to the apartment, I've tried to find him, tried to remember details, but I have nothing. No name, no organization, nothing. Describe him. Tall, silver hair, maybe 50, 55. Expensive suit, Italian, I think, and his eyes. She shuddered. Empty, like there was nothing human left inside. Dante went very still. What? Belle asked. He stood slowly, his face pale. Silver hair, dead eyes, Italian suit. You know him. Maybe. He pulled out his phone, scrolling quickly. Then he turned the screen toward her. Is this him? Belle's breath caught. The photo showed an older man at some kind of formal event. Gala, maybe. Silver hair, sharp suit, standing next. To a woman dripping in diamonds. It was him. Yes, she whispered. That's him. Who is he? Dante's expression darkened. Victor Castellano. The name meant nothing to her. Who's that? He was a fixer, high level, worked for families across the East Coast. Italians, Russians, Irish, didn't matter. If you needed someone to disappear, a problem handled quietly, you called Victor. Dante's voice was tight. He retired about 8 years ago, moved to Europe from what I heard. Why would he come after me? Because someone paid him to. Dante's eyes blazed. Victor didn't make moves on his own. He was a contractor, which means someone hired him to get rid of you. Belle's stomach dropped. Who? That's what we're going to find out. He was already typing, sending messages. If Victor's still alive, someone knows where he is. And if someone knows where he is, we can find him. Yeah. Dante looked at her, something dangerous and determined burning in his gaze. And when we do, he's going to tell us exactly who wanted you dead. An hour later, Dante's phone buzzed. He read the message, his expression hardening. What is it? Belle asked. Victor Castellano. He's not in Europe. Where is he? Dante looked at her. Brooklyn. He's been living in Brooklyn this whole time under a different name. Belle's heart pounded. Are you sure? Marco just confirmed it. He's in a retirement home in Bay Ridge, going by the name Vincent Cross. What do we do? Dante's jaw set. We pay him a visit. Dante, if he's the one who threatened me. Then he's going to tell me who hired him, and then his eyes went cold. Then I'm going to make sure he never threatens anyone again. Belle stood, adrenaline surging. When? Tomorrow, first thing. He pulled her close, his hand cupping her face. But tonight you rest, you're safe here. How can you be sure? Because I'll be right here, and I'm not letting anyone touch you. She believed him. God help her, she believed him. But outside, across the street, the man in the black sedan made another call. They're planning to visit Castellano. The pause. Understood. I'll be ready. He hung up. and checked his gun. Morning came slowly. The first pale light crept through the warehouse windows, casting long shadows across the concrete floor. Belle woke to the smell of coffee, real coffee, not the instant kind. She sat up, disoriented for a moment, the blanket sliding off her shoulders. Then she remembered. The warehouse, the danger, Dante. Dante. He stood near the small hot plate Marco must have brought in overnight, pouring coffee into two mismatched mugs. He'd changed clothes, dark jeans, a black Henley, and looked like he'd actually slept, though she doubted it. "Morning," he said without turning around. "How did you know I was awake?" "Your breathing changed." He glanced over his shoulder, a ghost of a smile on his lips. "I always knew when you were awake." Her chest tightened at the memory. All those mornings in his apartment, him bringing her coffee in bed, kissing her awake when she tried to hide under the covers. A lifetime ago. He handed her a mug. Their fingers brushed. Neither pulled away. "Thank you," she said quietly. "It's just coffee." "I don't mean the coffee." He met her eyes, understanding passing between them. "You don't have to thank me for protecting you. It's not. It's not something I'm doing for you. It's something I'm doing because I can't not do it." She took a sip, letting the warmth spread through her. "When do we leave?" "Soon. Marco's getting a car, something clean, untraceable. We'll go to the retirement home, talk to Castellano, and get answers. And then we end this." His voice was firm, but she heard the uncertainty beneath it, the fear he wouldn't say out loud. Because ending this meant one of two things: freedom or death. There wasn't much middle ground. They had 2 hours before Marco returned. 2 hours of waiting, of sitting with the weight of everything unsaid. Belle wandered the warehouse, her coffee mug warming her hands. The space was enormous, must have been a shipping depot once. Faded paint on the walls, old markings indicating where cargo had been stored. Dante followed at a distance, watching her. "What are you thinking?" he asked. She turned. "I'm thinking about how different everything is, how different we are." "Are we? Aren't we?" She set the mug down on a dusty crate. 12 years, Dante. You built an empire, became someone people fear, and I became invisible. We're not the same people we were. He stepped closer. "Maybe not, but that doesn't mean we don't fit anymore." "How can you be so sure?" "Because I've spent 12 years with a hole in my chest, and the second I saw you, it started to heal." His voice was raw, honest. "You think I don't know we've both changed? I do. But some things don't change, Isabel. Some things are constant." "Like what?" "Like the way I feel when you say my name. Like the way my heart stopped when I thought I'd lost you. Like the way I'd burn this entire city down if it meant keeping you safe." He was close now, so close she could feel the heat of him. "So yeah, we're different, but we're still us." Tears pricked her eyes. "I don't know if I deserve that, deserve you." "You do." "I left you. To save me, I know. I let you think I was dead. Because you didn't have a choice. I know that too." "Then why don't I feel forgiven?" Her voice cracked. "Why do I still feel like I ruined everything?" He took her face in his hands, his thumbs brushing away the tears that had started to fall. "Because you've been carrying this alone for 12 years. Because you never let yourself grieve what we lost. Because you've been punishing yourself for doing the only thing you could do. I thought about you every day, she whispered. Every single day. I'd see couples on the street and wonder if that could have been us. I'd hear a song we used to listen to and have to leave the room because it hurt too much. I wore your ring even though it killed me, because letting go felt like dying. I know, his voice was thick. I know because I did the same thing. I kept your things, your books, your clothes, that stupid mug you always used. I couldn't throw them away, couldn't let anyone touch them. It was like if I kept them, maybe you'd come back. I'm so sorry. Stop apologizing. He pressed his forehead to hers. You're here now, that's all that matters. What if it's not enough? What if we can't go back to who we were? Then we figure out who we are now, together. She closed her eyes, breathing him in cedar and smoke and home. I'm scared, she admitted. So am I. Of what? Of losing you again, of failing to protect you, of finally having you back and watching it all fall apart. His hands trembled slightly against her skin, but I'm more scared of not trying. She opened her eyes, looking up at him. What if this doesn't work? Then at least we were honest. At least we fought. His lips curved into a sad smile. At least we got one more chance to say the things we should have said 12 years ago. Like what? Like, he hesitated, vulnerability flickering across his face. Like I never should have let you walk out that door alone. Like I should have told you every single day how much you meant to me. Like I should have fought harder to keep you safe instead of assuming love was enough. It was enough. It is enough. Is it? Yes. She reached up, her hand covering his. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, Dante. You still are. And if I could go back, I wouldn't change loving you. I'd just change how it ended. His breath hitched. And then he kissed her. Soft this time. Slow. Like they had all the time in the world, even though they both knew they didn't. Her hands slid up his chest, feeling his heart hammering beneath her palms. His arms wrapped around her, pulling her close, holding her like she might disappear if he let go. When they finally broke apart, both of them were breathing hard. I missed this, she whispered against his lips. I missed you. I'm right here. Promise me something. Anything. Promise me that no matter what happens today, no matter what we find out, you won't do anything stupid. He pulled back slightly, searching her face. Define stupid. Getting yourself killed trying to protect me. Can't promise that. Dante. I can promise I'll do everything I can to keep us both alive, but if it comes down to you or me, his eyes were fierce. I choose you, every time. That's not fair. Life's not fair, baby, but this, he gestured between them, this is the only thing that's ever made sense, so I'm not apologizing for choosing you. She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him she wasn't worth dying for. But the words wouldn't come. Because deep down, she knew he'd already made his choice. And nothing, she said, would change it. They spent the next hour talking. Really talking. Not about the danger or the plan or what came next. Just talking. She told him about the jobs she'd worked over the years. Waitress, receptionist, bookstore clerk, janitor. The cities she'd lived in. The small apartment she'd had in Seattle with a view of the water that almost made her forget she was running. He told her about building the empire, about the people he'd lost along the way, about the nights he couldn't sleep when the guilt and the grief became too much, and he'd drive through the city at 3 a.m. just to feel something other than empty. They laughed, too. She reminded him of the time he'd tried to cook her dinner and nearly set the kitchen on fire. He reminded her of the time she'd dragged him to a poetry reading, and he'd fallen asleep in the front row. Small moments, precious ones. Proof that they'd been real once. That they could be real again. "Do you ever think about what we would have been?" Belle asked quietly. "If none of this had happened." Dante was quiet for a moment, his thumb tracing circles on the back of her hand. "Yeah, all the time." "What do you think?" "I think we would have gotten married. Small ceremony, just us and the people who mattered. I think you would have finished your degree, maybe taught at a university. I think I would have found a way out of this life, gone legitimate like I always planned." He smiled sadly. "I think we would have been happy." "Me too." "You ever think about it?" "Every day." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "I used to imagine a different life, one where I didn't have to run, where I could wake up next to you and not be afraid, where we could just be. We can still have that. Can we? If we survive today, yeah, I'll walk away from all of it. The family, the business. Everything. We'll go somewhere no one knows us. Start over." She lifted her head, looking at him. "You'd really do that?" "In a heartbeat." "What about everything you've built?" "It means nothing without you." Tears slipped down her cheeks. "I don't deserve you." "Yes, you do." He kissed her forehead. "And I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving it." When Marco finally arrived, the sun was higher in the sky. He knocked twice, their signal, and Dante let him in. Cars out back, clean plates, full tank. Marco handed Dante a set of keys, then looked at Belle. "You ready for this?" "No," she said honestly, "but I don't think I have a choice." "You always have a choice, kid. Just sometimes all the options suck." She almost smiled. "That's comforting." Wasn't trying to be comforting, was trying to be honest. He nodded toward the door. "Let's move. We've got a 2-hour window before the day shift at the home changes. Less people, less questions." Dante took Belle's hand. "You stay close to me. You don't talk unless I say. And if anything goes wrong." "I run, I know." "Good." They headed for the door. But just before they stepped outside, Belle stopped. "What?" Dante asked. She turned, looking back at the warehouse, the place where they'd spent the night, where they'd talked and remembered and started to heal. "I just wanted to remember this," she said softly. In case nothing." He squeezed her hand. "We're walking out of this together, I promise." She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him. So she nodded. And together, they stepped into the light. The retirement home in Bay Ridge was pleasant enough. Brick facade, well-maintained gardens, a hand-painted sign that read Serenity Hills in soft blue letters. The kind of place people sent their aging parents when they wanted to feel like they'd done right by them, even if they only visited twice a year. Belle sat in the passenger seat of the sedan, staring at the building through the tinted window. Her stomach churned. Somewhere inside those walls was the man who destroyed her life. Victor Castellano. Or Vincent Cross, as he called himself now. "You okay?" Dante asked. She nodded, though her hands were shaking. "Yeah, I didn't think I'd ever see him again." "You don't have to go in. You can wait here with Marco." "No." She looked at him, her jaw set. "I need to do this. I need to hear him say it. I need to know why." Dante studied her for a moment, then nodded. "Okay, but you stay behind me. And if I tell you to leave, you leave. No arguments." "A deal." Marco was already out of the car, scanning the street. He tapped on the window. "We're clear, but we move fast. In and out 15 minutes tops." Dante opened the door and helped Belle out. The autumn air was crisp, carrying the faint smell of dying leaves and exhaust. They walked through the front entrance like they belonged. There, Dante in his dark coat, Belle in a borrowed jacket that was too big for her, Marco trailing a few steps behind. The lobby was warm, decorated with pastel paintings and soft lighting meant to soothe. An older woman sat at the reception desk, reading glasses perched on her nose. She looked up and smiled. "Can I help you?" Dante returned the smile, charming, disarming. "We're here to see Vincent Cross. He's expecting us." The woman checked her computer. "Oh, I don't see any appointments listed for Mr. Cross today." "It's a family visit, last minute." Dante leaned on the counter slightly, lowering his voice. "We drove in from out of state. His daughter wanted to surprise him." Belle stepped forward on cue, offering a tight smile. "He doesn't know we're coming." The receptionist softened. "Oh, how sweet. Well, he's in the common room right now. Down the hall, second door on the left." "Thank you." They moved quickly, footsteps muffled by the plush carpet. The common room was spacious, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a garden. Residents scattered in armchairs watching a muted television or working on puzzles. And there, in the corner by the window, sat Victor Castellano. He looked older, frailer. His silver hair had thinned, his expensive suit replaced by a cardigan and slacks. But his eyes, those cold, dead eyes, were the same. Belle's breath caught. Dante felt her tense beside him. His hand found hers, squeezing once. "I'm here." They crossed the room. Victor looked up from the newspaper he was reading, his gaze sliding over them without recognition at first. Then he saw Belle, and his expression froze. For a long, terrible moment, no one spoke. Then Victor set the newspaper down slowly, his hands steady. "Well," he said quietly, his voice like gravel, "this is unexpected." Dante stepped forward, his presence a wall of controlled fury. "Vincent Cross, or should I say Victor Castellano?" The old man's lips twitched. "I haven't used that name in years. And yet here you are, alive, comfortable." Dante's voice was low, dangerous. "While the woman you tried to erase spent 12 years running." Victor's gaze shifted to Belle. "Isse Belle Moro, I thought you understood the terms of our agreement." "Agreement?" Belle's voice shook. "You threatened me. You threatened everyone I loved. And you complied, which is why you're still breathing." He leaned back in his chair, utterly unbothered. "So why are you here to thank me?" Dante moved so fast Belle almost didn't see it. One moment Victor was sitting. The next, Dante had him by the collar, yanking him halfway out of the chair. "Try again," Dante hissed, "and this time show some respect." A few residents glanced over, confused. Marco stepped into view, his expression making it clear they should mind their own business. They did. Victor didn't struggle. He just smiled, cold and knowing. "Dante Rivero, I wondered when you'd figure it out." "Who hired you?" "Does it matter?" "Yes." "Why, so you can kill them, start a war?" Victor shook his head. "You're wasting your time. Whoever it was is long gone by now. People like that don't stick around to see the results. They pay, they disappear, and they move on." "Give me a name." "Or what? You'll kill me here, in front of witnesses." Victor's smile widened. "You're not that stupid." Dante's grip tightened. "You don't know what I'm capable of." "Oh, I do. I've been watching you for years, boy. You think you're untouchable now, don't you? King of New York. But you're still the same lovesick fool who let a girl make you weak." Belle stepped forward, her voice cutting through the tension. "Why me? Why did they want me gone?" Victor looked at her, something almost like pity crossing his face. "Because you were his humanity. As long as you existed, Dante Rivero had something to lose, something to protect, something that made him hesitate." He glanced at Dante. "And people who hesitate don't build. Empires, they get destroyed by them." "So someone wanted him to become this," Belle said, her voice hollow. "They wanted him to be cold, ruthless." "Exactly." "Who?" Victor was silent. Dante slammed him back into the chair. "I won't ask again." The old man sighed, like this was all terribly inconvenient. "You want a name? Fine, but it won't help you." He reached into his cardigan pocket, slowly, so no one would panic, and pulled out a small black notebook. He flipped through it, then tore out a page and handed it to Dante. On it was a single name, written in careful script. Antonio Rivero. Belle's blood went cold. Dante stared at the page like it had burned him. "That's impossible," he said quietly. "Is it?" Victor tilted his head. "Your uncle wanted you to take over the family, but you were soft, distracted, in love. So he hired me to remove the distraction. Simple business." "My uncle is dead." "Yes, heart attack 5 years ago. Convenient, wasn't it?" Victor's smile was razor thin. "But the damage was already done. By the time he died, you'd already become exactly what he wanted. Cold, efficient, alone." Dante's hands were shaking. "He wouldn't." "He did, and it worked." Victor looked at Belle. "I'm sorry, dear, truly. You were collateral damage in someone else's game, but that's the world you chose to love into." Belle felt like the ground had opened beneath her. Dante's uncle, family. The man who'd raised him after his parents died. The man he'd trusted. "You're lying," Dante said, but his voice cracked. "Why would I? I'm an old man waiting to die. I have nothing to gain." Victor folded his hands. "Your uncle paid me $500,000 to make her disappear. He didn't care how, just that it happened. So I did my job." He paused. "Though I'll admit I'm impressed she survived this long. Most people I threaten don't have that kind of discipline." Dante dropped the paper like it had burned him. Belle reached for his hand, but he pulled away. "Dante." "Don't." His voice was hollow. "Just don't." He turned and walked out of the room. Belle looked at Victor, fury and grief warring in her chest. I hope you rot. I already am, dear. He picked up his newspaper again. We all are. She ran after Dante. She found him outside, leaning against the car, his head in his hands. Marco stood a few feet away, giving them space. Dante, Belle said softly. He didn't look up. He's the reason. My own family is the reason you were taken from me. You didn't know. I should have. He looked up and his eyes were wrecked. I should have seen it, should have questioned it. But I was so focused on finding you, on becoming strong enough that no one could ever hurt you again, that I never stopped to ask who would have wanted you gone. It's not your fault. Isn't it? I brought you into this world. I made you a target. I chose to be with you. That was my decision. And look where it got you. 12 years of hiding. 12 years of fear. All because I wasn't smart enough to see what was right in front of me. Stop. She grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. This is not on you. Victor made his choice. Your uncle made his, but you loved me, you fought for me, you never gave up. That's not weakness, Dante, that's strength. And it didn't save you. No, but it brought you to me now, and we have a chance to finish this, together. He closed his eyes, a tear slipping free. I don't know if I can do this. Yes, you can, because you're not alone anymore. For a moment, he just breathed. Then his phone buzzed. He pulled it out, his expression darkening as he read the message. What? Belle asked. It's from one of my men. Someone just put a hit out on you. Her stomach dropped. What? Word got out that you're alive, that you're with me, and now... He looked at her, fear naked on his face. Now every operator on the East Coast knows there's a price on your head. How much? 2 million. Belle's knees nearly gave out. Marco cursed under his breath. We need to move, Marco said. Now. But before they could get in the car, 3 black SUVs pulled into the parking lot, blocking the exits. Doors opened. Men stepped out, armed, professional, cold-eyed. Marco's hand went to his gun. Boss. I see them. Belle's heart hammered. Dante. Get in the car, now. But it was too late. One of the men raised a megaphone. Dante Rivero, step away from the girl. This doesn't have to get messy. Dante stepped in front of Belle, shielding her. Like hell. We're not here for you, just her. Walk away and you live. Not happening. Then you die with her. Marco raised his gun. The men raised theirs. And Belle realized with horrifying clarity, this was it. This was how it ended. Dante, she whispered, run, please. He looked at her, his eyes fierce. No. Please. I told you, I'm not losing you again. Tears streamed down. Her face, I love you. I love you too. The men started advancing. And then, sirens. Loud, close, getting closer. The men hesitated. Blue and red lights flooded the parking lot as 3 police cars screeched to a halt. The armed men cursed, retreating to their vehicles. Engines roared, they fled. Marco lowered his gun, exhaling. Who the hell called the cops? Dante looked just as confused. Then Belle's phone buzzed. She pulled it out with shaking hands. One message, from an unknown number. You're welcome. Now get out of New York. M. She showed it to Dante. His jaw tightened. Marco. The older man shook his head. Wasn't me, boss. Then who? But there was no time to figure it out. One of the officers was approaching. We need to go, Dante said. Now. They got in the car. Marco hit the gas. And as they sped away, Belle looked back at the retirement home, at the police lights, at the life she'd thought she could reclaim. It was gone. All of it. And she didn't know if they'd survive long enough to build a new one. They drove for an hour in silence. Marco took back roads, side streets, routes that didn't show up on any GPS. Belle sat in the back seat, staring out the window as the city blurred past. Dante was beside her, jaw clenched, hands fisted on his thighs. Neither of them spoke. The weight of what they'd learned, what had just happened, pressed down like a stone. Finally, Marco pulled into an empty lot behind a shuttered factory in Queens. He killed the engine and turned around. We can't keep running like this, he said. They'll find us eventually. We need a plan. Dante didn't respond. His eyes were distant, lost somewhere between rage and grief. Belle reached for his hand. He didn't pull away, but he didn't hold on either. Dante, she said softly. Nothing. Dante, look at me. Slowly, he turned. His eyes were red-rimmed, hollow. I can't do this, he whispered. Her chest tightened. Can't do what? This, any of. This, he gestured vaguely. I can't keep putting you in danger. I can't keep watching people come for you because of me. That's not. It is, his voice cracked. My uncle destroyed your life because of me, and now there's a $2 million bounty on your head because of me. Everyone you love is in danger because of me. That's not true. Isn't it? He pulled his hand away, running it through his hair. You were safe, Isabel. For 12 years you were safe. Hidden. Alive. And the second I found you, the second you came back into my world, you became a target again. I came back for my sister. And I made it worse. I always make it worse. He stood abruptly, pacing the small space. You should have stayed away from me. You should have run the second I recognized you. Belle stood too, anger flaring. Don't do this. Do what? Push me away, blame yourself, decide what's best for me without asking. She stepped closer. I'm not some fragile thing that needs protecting. Dante, I survived 12 years on my own. I made my choices. And I'm choosing to be here, with you. You're choosing to die. Maybe. Or maybe I'm choosing to live for the first time in 12 years. He shook his head, pain etched across his face. You don't understand. No, you don't understand. Her voice rose. I didn't come back to New York to hide. I came back to say goodbye to my sister, yes. But I also came back because I was tired. Tired of running. Tired of being no one. Tired of pretending I didn't love you anymore. Isabel. I wore your ring every single day. I kept your picture in my wallet even though looking at it destroyed me. I built an entire life around the hole you left, and it was killing me. So don't you dare stand there and tell me I'd be better off without you. Because I wouldn't. I'd just be surviving. And I'm done surviving. I want to live. Tears streamed down her face, but she didn't wipe them away. Dante stared at her, his own eyes wet. What? If I can't keep you safe, he whispered. Then we go down fighting, together. She closed the distance between them. But I'm not leaving you, not again. So you have two choices. You can walk away and spend the rest of your life wondering what could have been, or you can stay and help me finish this. He was silent for a long moment. Then, so quietly she almost didn't hear it, I don't know how to let you go. Then don't. He pulled her into his arms, holding her so tightly she could barely breathe. His face buried in her hair, his body shaking. I'm so tired, he whispered. I'm so tired of losing. Then let's stop losing. She pulled back just enough to look at him. We know who's after me now. We know the threat, so let's end it. How? I don't know yet, but we'll figure it out, together. Marco cleared his throat from the front seat. Hate to interrupt, but she's right. Running's not gonna work. They'll hunt you to the ends of the earth for 2 million, so we need to flip the script. Dante wiped his face, his armor slowly reassembling. What are you thinking? We take away the reason for the bounty. We make it not worth the risk. How do we do that? Marco met his eyes in the rearview mirror. You know how. Dante went very still. No. It's the only way. I said no. Belle looked between them. What's he talking about? Dante's jaw tightened. He wants me to call a truce. A sit-down with the heads of the other families, offer a deal. What kind of deal? The kind where I give up territory, power, money. His voice was bitter. The kind where I make myself weaker to keep you alive. And you don't want to do that. It's not about want. It's about survival. If I show weakness now, they'll come for me, for everything I've built. But you'd be alive, Marco said. You'd both be alive. For how long? A month? A year? And then what? Someone decides the truce isn't worth it and we're back where we started. Maybe, or maybe you. Take the out and disappear. Change your name, change your life, be someone else. Dante laughed bitterly. You think it's that easy? No, but I think it's possible. Marco turned to face him fully. I've been with you for 15 years, kid. I watched you build this empire from nothing. I watched you become the most feared man in New York, and I also watched you die inside when you lost her. He nodded toward Belle. You finally got her back. Don't lose her again because you're too proud to walk away. Dante's fists clenched. It's not about pride. Yes, it is, and it's about fear. You're terrified that if you're not Dante Rivero, the king, the boss, the untouchable, you're nothing. But that's a lie. You were someone before all this, and you can be someone again. Silence filled the car. Belle took Dante's hand. He's right. Dante looked at her, conflict written all over his face. If I walk away from this life, I have nothing to offer you. No protection, no power, no. I don't want power, I want you. She cupped his face. The real you, the one who used to make me breakfast and read to me at night. The one who laughed at bad movies and sang off-key in the shower. I don't need a king, Dante. I just need you. His breath hitched. What if that's not enough? It's more than enough. It's everything. For a long moment, he just looked at her. Then, slowly, he nodded. Okay. Marco exhaled. Okay. Yeah. Dante's voice was raw but steady. Set up the meeting, I'll call a truce, offer them what they want, and then He looked at Belle. Then we disappear. Belle's heart swelled. You mean it? Yeah, I mean it. He kissed her forehead. I'm done losing you. Marco made the calls. It took 3 hours, but by early evening the meeting was set. Neutral Ground, a restaurant in Little Italy that had been hosting sit-downs for 40 years. Tomorrow night, all 5 family heads would be there. Dante would offer his terms. He'd step back, redistribute his territory, and disappear. In exchange, the bounty on Belle would be lifted and they'd be left alone. It wasn't a guarantee, but it was a chance. That night, they stayed in a safe house in Staten Island, a small, nondescript brownstone owned by one of Marco's old contacts. Belle sat on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, staring at the flickering television without really seeing it. Dante emerged from the bedroom, freshly showered, wearing jeans and a t-shirt. He looked younger somehow, less guarded. He sat beside her, and she leaned into him. You okay? She asked. I don't know. He was quiet for a moment. I keep thinking about what happens if this doesn't work, if they don't accept the deal. Then we run. We keep running until we find somewhere they can't reach us. And if there's nowhere like that? She took his hand, lacing their fingers together. Then at least we'll be together. He looked at her, his eyes soft. You really mean that, don't you? Every word. He leaned in, kissing her gently. I don't deserve you. Stop saying that. It's true. No, it's not. You're a good man, Dante. You always have been. You just got lost for a while. She brushed a strand of hair from his forehead. But you're finding your way back, and I'll be here every step of the way. His throat worked. I love you so much it scares me. I love you too. They sat in silence, holding each other, while the world outside continued to spin. And for the first time in 12 years, Belle let herself hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, they could have the life they'd always dreamed of. A life without fear. Without running. Without ghosts. Just them. Together. Finally. The next morning, Dante's phone rang. He answered, his expression tightening as he listened. When he hung up, his face was pale. What? Belle asked, dread pooling in her stomach. One of the family heads just backed out of the meeting. Which? One. Vincent Taro, head of the Taro family. Dante ran a hand through his hair. He's refusing the truce, says he doesn't negotiate with people who show weakness. What does that mean? Dante met her eyes. It means the bounty stays active, and the meeting is off. Belle's world tilted. So we run. We run, Dante confirmed, and we don't stop. Marco appeared in the doorway. I've got a contact in Montreal. He can get you across the border, set you up with new identities. But we need to leave now, within the hour. Dante nodded. Do it. Belle stood, her heart pounding. What about my sister? Dante's face softened. We'll get you to her first. You say goodbye, and then we go. Tears filled her eyes. Thank you. Always. They drove to the hospice in Queens. Belle's sister, Natalie, was in a private room on the 3rd floor. She was asleep when they arrived, her frail body barely making a dent in the hospital bed. Belle sat beside her, taking her hand. Dante and Marco waited outside. For 20 minutes, Belle just sat there, watching her sister breathe. Then Natalie's eyes fluttered open. "Belle," her voice was weak. "I'm here." Natalie smiled, small, tired, but real. I thought you'd left again." "No, I'm here, Belle's voice broke. "I came to say goodbye." Natalie's smile faded. "You're leaving." "I have to. It's not safe for me here, but I wanted to see you one last time." Tears slipped down Natalie's cheeks. "I'm glad you came back, even if it was just for a little while." "Me too." "Are you happy?" Belle looked toward the door where Dante stood watching. "Yeah, I think I am." "Good, that's all I ever wanted for you." Natalie squeezed her hand weakly. "Go live, don't waste any more time." Belle leaned down, kissing her sister's forehead. "I love you." "I love you too." She stayed for a few more minutes. And then she left. As they walked back to the car, Belle wiped her eyes. Dante pulled her close. "You okay?" "No, but I will be." They got in the car. Marco started the engine. And as they pulled away from the hospice, heading toward the highway, toward Canada, toward a new life, Belle looked back one last time and whispered a quiet goodbye to the only family she had left. The drive to the Canadian border took 6 hours. They stayed off the main highways, weaving through small towns and back roads where cameras were scarce and questions were scarcer. Marco drove in silence, his eyes constantly checking the mirrors. Dante sat in the back with Belle, their hands intertwined, neither speaking much. There wasn't much left to say. Everything had been stripped down to its essence. Survival, love, and the hope that somewhere beyond this nightmare, they could finally be free. As they crossed into upstate New York, the landscape changed. Trees thickened. Towns grew smaller. The world felt bigger somehow, like they were driving toward the edge of everything they'd ever known. Belle rested her head on Dante's shoulder. "What are you thinking?" he asked quietly. "I'm thinking about how strange it is. 12 years ago, I ran away to save you, and now we're running away together. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?" She thought about it. Good, definitely good. He kissed the top of her head. "Where do you want to go? After Canada, I mean. We can go anywhere." "Anywhere." "Anywhere. Europe, South America, Asia. Somewhere warm, somewhere cold, your choice." She smiled. "I've always wanted to see Ireland." "Ireland." "Yeah, green hills, old castles, small villages where no one knows your name." She looked up at him. "We could open a bookstore or a cafe, something simple." His lips curved into a rare, genuine smile. "A cafe. You serving coffee, me burning toast in the back." "Sounds perfect." "Yeah," he said softly. "It does." They were 20 miles from the border when Marco's phone rang. He answered, listened for a moment, then cursed under his breath. "What?" Dante asked, instantly alert. "Checkpoint ahead. Border patrol's been tipped off. They're looking for a man and woman matching your descriptions." Belle's stomach dropped. "How is that possible? We've been off-grid." "Someone leaked our route." Marco's jaw tightened. "Someone close." Dante's expression went cold. "Who knew we were heading to Canada?" Just my contact, and he's solid. Been with me for 20 years. Then someone got to him. Or someone's been tracking us the whole time. Marco pulled off the main road onto a dirt path leading into the woods. We need to ditch the car, go on foot. To where? Belle asked. There's an old logging trail about 2 miles north. Crosses the border through unmonitored territory. It's rough, but it'll get you across. What about you? Dante asked. I'll double back, create a diversion, make them think you went south. Marco. No. Arguments, kid, this is the play. He stopped the car, turning to face them. You've got maybe an hour before they widen the search. Move fast, stay quiet, and don't look back. Dante's throat worked. I can't ask you to do this. You're not asking, I'm telling. Marco's expression softened. You gave me a second chance when no one else would. Let me return the favor. For a moment, the two men just looked at each other, years of loyalty and trust passing between them. Then Dante extended his hand. Marco shook it. Thank you, Dante said quietly. Don't thank me, just live, both of you. Marco looked at Belle. Take care of him, he's an idiot, but he's a good idiot. She smiled through tears. I will. They got out of the car, taking only what they could carry. A backpack with water, some cash, and 2 burner phones. Marco handed Dante a folded piece of paper. Coordinates for a safe house in Montreal. My contact will meet you there in 3 days. New identities, passports. Everything you need. Dante pocketed it. I owe you. You owe me nothing. Now go. They disappeared into the woods. Behind them, Marco got back in the car, turned it around, and sped off in the opposite direction. The forest was dense and dark, even in the late afternoon light. Dante led the way, using the compass on his phone to navigate. Belle followed close behind, her breath coming in short bursts as they climbed over fallen logs and pushed through thick underbrush. Neither spoke. Every sound, every snapped twig, every rustling leaf sent adrenaline spiking through their veins. After an hour, they reached a small clearing near a creek. Dante stopped, checking his phone. We're close, maybe half a mile to the border. Belle leaned against a tree, catching her breath. And then what? Then we find the safe house, lay low for a few days, and when we have our new documents, he looked at her. We disappear for real, no looking back. She nodded, though something heavy sat in her chest. Dante. Yeah. Do you think we'll ever stop running? He was quiet for a long moment. Then he crossed to her, taking her face in his hands. I don't know, he said honestly. But I know that wherever we end up, as long as you're with me, it'll be home. Her eyes filled with tears. Promise me something. Anything. Promise me that no matter what happens, no matter where we go or who we become, we'll never forget who we were, the people we were before all of this. I promise. He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. I promise. They held each other for a moment longer. Then they kept moving. The border crossing was exactly as Marco described. An overgrown trail barely visible through the trees, marked only by a few faded orange tags tied to branches. No fences, no guards, just wilderness. They crossed in silence, stepping over the invisible line that separated one country from another. one life from the next. When they were 100 yards into Canada, Belle stopped and looked back. "What is it?" Dante asked. "I'm just saying goodbye." She wiped her eyes. "To everything, my sister, New York, the life I thought I'd get back." Dante pulled her close. "You'll see her again, when this is over, when it's safe." "You think it'll ever be safe?" "I'll make it safe." She looked up at him. "How?" "I don't know yet, but I'll find a way. I didn't come this far just to lose you again." She believed him. Because for the first time in 12 years, she saw something in his eyes she hadn't seen since the day she left. Hope. They reached the safe house 2 days later. It was a small cabin on the outskirts of Montreal, rustic, isolated, surrounded by trees. Marco's contact was waiting, a quiet man in his 60s who asked no questions and offered only efficiency. He handed them an envelope. Inside were 2 Canadian passports, 2 driver's licenses, a bank card, linked to an account with $50,000, and a set of keys. "The account is clean, untraceable," the man said in accented English. "The apartment in the city is paid for 6 months. After that, you're on your own." Dante nodded. "Thank you." The man looked at Belle, then back at Dante. "You're lucky, you know. Most people don't get second chances." "I know." The man left without another word. 3 months later. Cork, Ireland. The cafe was small, tucked onto a cobblestone street in the heart of the city. The sign above the door read second, chances in hand-painted letters. Inside, the smell of fresh coffee and baked bread filled the air. Soft music played from a speaker in the corner. A few locals sat at tables by the window, reading newspapers or chatting quietly. Behind the counter, Belle poured a latte, her hair pulled back in a loose bun, a soft smile on her face. Dante emerged from the back, carrying a tray of scones. He set them in the display case, then caught her eye. She grinned. "You didn't burn them this time." "Progress. Miracles do happen." He leaned across the counter and kissed her, quick and easy, like it was the most natural thing in the world. A customer cleared their throat, and they pulled apart, both laughing. "Sorry," Belle said, turning to take the order. Dante watched her for a moment. The way she moved, the way she smiled, the way she lived again. And he felt something he hadn't felt in 12 years. Peace. That night, they walked along the River Lee, the city lights reflecting off the water. Belle slipped her hand into his. "Do you miss it? New York, the life you had?" He thought about it. Sometimes, but not enough to go back. "Really?" "Really?" He stopped, turning to face her. "I spent 12 years building an empire because I thought it would fill the hole you left. But it didn't. It just made the hole bigger. And now," he cupped her face, "now I have everything I ever wanted. You, a quiet life, a future that doesn't end in blood. And that's enough." "It's more than enough. It's everything." She smiled, tears shimmering in her eyes. "I love you." "I love you too." They kissed beneath the streetlights, 2 people who'd been torn apart and stitched back together, scarred but whole. 6 months later. Belle stood in the doorway of the cafe, watching the rain patter against the windows. Business had been good. They'd made friends, built a life. And for the first time in 12 years, she wasn't looking over her shoulder. Dante came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "What are you thinking about?" "I'm thinking about how far we've come." "Yeah, yeah," she turned in his arms. "And I'm thinking, maybe it's time we stopped running for good." "What do you mean?" She pulled a small velvet box from her pocket and opened it. Inside was a simple gold band. Dante's breath caught. "Mary." "Me," she said softly. "For real this time. Not as Isabel and Dante, as whoever we are now, whoever we want to be." His eyes shone. "Yes. Yes. Yes. 1,000 times yes." She laughed, and he kissed her, lifting her off the ground and spinning her around. When he set her down, both of them were crying and laughing and holding each other like they'd never let go. "I have something for you too," Dante said. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. She opened it. It was a deed to a small house on the coast, cliffs and ocean views and endless sky. "I bought it last month," he said. "I was going to wait until your birthday, but," he shrugged, "I figured now was as good a time as any." "Dante," she stared at the paper, then at him. This is ours." "Ours, no aliases, no fake names. I put it in our real names." "But if anyone traces it?" "Let them. I'm done hiding. I'm done being afraid." He took her hands. "We've earned this. We've survived this. And I'll be damned if I spend one more day pretending we don't deserve to be happy." She threw her arms around him, sobbing into his chest. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for not giving up on me, on us." "Never," he said fiercely. "Never." 1 year later. The wedding was small. Just the two of them, a priest, and the sound of waves crashing against the cliffs. Belle wore a simple white dress. Dante wore a suit he'd bought in town. They said their vows, with the ocean as their witness. And when the priest pronounced them husband and wife, Dante kissed her like it was the first time and the last time and every time in between. Afterward, they walked along the beach, hand in hand, the setting sun painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. "Do you ever think about what your uncle did?" Belle asked quietly. "Sometimes, but then I realize if he hadn't, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have fought our way back to each other, and I wouldn't trade this for anything. Not even your empire. Not even close." He stopped, pulling her into his arms. "You are my empire, you always were." She kissed him, slow and deep and full of promise. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, two people who'd been broken and lost and afraid finally found their way home. Together. At last. Epilogue. 2 years later. The cafe had expanded. They'd opened a second location, hired staff, built something real. And in the small house on the cliffs, a nursery had been painted soft yellow. Belle stood in the doorway, one hand on her rounded belly, watching Dante assemble a crib. "You're doing it wrong," she said, smiling. "I am not. That piece is upside down." He looked at it, frowned, and flipped it over. "Okay, maybe you're right." She laughed, crossing the room to help him. They worked in comfortable silence, the kind built over years of trust and love, and choosing each other every single day. When the crib was finally assembled, Dante pulled her close, his hand resting over hers on her belly. "We're going to be okay," he said softly. "I know. I'm going to protect you, both of you. I know that too." He kissed her temple. "I love you. I love you too." And as the baby kicked beneath their hands, Belle closed her eyes and let herself believe in something she'd stopped believing in 12 years ago. Happily ever after. So where did this story find you tonight? What time is it where you are, and what are you feeling right now? I'd love to know. Drop a comment below. Tell me if you believed in second chances before this story, or if you believe in them now. And if you made it this far, thank you for staying, for feeling, for believing that love, even when it's broken, can be made whole again. Until next time, keep believing in second chances.